Bakhmut is becoming more and more surrounded every day, and the attacks of the city are becoming more and more intense. Today we will talk about how much time is left until the city is occupied, and also when to expect a counterattack from Ukraine. This is Conflict Report. I live in Kiev and tell you about the war through the eyes of an eyewitness. The battle for Bakhmut began in late summer and right now has reached its climax. On March 3rd, Yevgeny Prigozhin, owner of the Wagner private military company, climbed onto the roof of a mine in the village of Avdiivka and asked Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky to withdraw the remaining troops from Bakhmut, which he said was practically surrounded. Prigozhin claims that the Ukrainian armed forces can now use only one road to supply the city. This is not entirely true. Since March 3rd, the city defenders have not had a single paved road available. Last night, the Wagner forces used artillery to blow up a bridge in the village of Hromove. Through this road, the Ukrainian army was receiving reinforcements from the town of Chasiv Yar. However, the defenders could still use sections of the Bakhmut-Konstantinivka and Bakhmut-Chasiv Yar roads, as well as the network of dirt roads connecting them. Between the roads is a hilly section 3 kilometers wide, which is not yet blocked by Wagner. However, any mercenary breaks through here could end up encircling the city. Thus, to avoid encirclement, the Ukrainian Armed Forces Command must either immediately organize a major counterattack or evacuate the defenders of the city. Most likely, the second option has been chosen. Parts of the defenders are already leaving the eastern part of Bakhmut, and valuable military specialists are also being withdrawn from the city. Over the past few days, Russian mercenaries in this section of the front have come close to Hromove and advanced northward in the direction of Bogdanivka and Chasiv Yar. Now, the Ukrainian armed forces need to think not only about defending Bakhmut, but also about how to defend Chasiv Yar, which is even more operationally important. It is located on the top of a hilly ridge that dominates the terrain to the south and west. Ukraine already has had the negative experience of retreating too late from Vuhledar, which led to Wagner's breakthrough to the northern outskirts of Bakhmut. It is reported that Russian forces are trying to advance toward Konstantinivka through the Bilahora area. It is likely that Konstantinivka may become the target of a new Russian offensive after the fall of Bakhmut. Ukraine clearly needs forces to repel it, and there is nowhere to get them but in Bakhmut. Russian forces operating north of Vuhledar have also stepped up. Probably Prigozhin is not really lying, and Wagner Group is not interested in encircling Bakhmut and its subsequent assaults. The mercenaries would prefer that the Ukrainian army just leave the city. Svatove and Kreminna. Russian troops continue their offensive toward the villages of Torske and Nevske. However, it seems to have slowed down since late January, when reinforcement of the Russian armed forces that arrived here were able to advance several kilometers to the Zherebets river. Position fighting for every clearing in the forest near Kreminna continues. It is likely that without capturing the city, Russian troops will not be able to fully occupy the huge forest. Avdiivka. Russian forces are again attempting to encircle Ukraine's largest stronghold in the Donbass area. The offensive is again coming from the northwest and southwest, and again with no visible success and heavy losses. For the first time in a long period, the Russian armed forces here are using medium-altitude bombing aircraft to attack Avdiivka. Perhaps this indicates that Ukraine's air defenses have weakened enough for the Russian Air Force not to be too concerned about them. But it is more likely that Russia is using gliding bombs, which can be dropped at long distances from the target. Marinka. The Russian army tried to change the vector of the offensive near Marinka in order to make it easier for the troops trying to storm Vuhledar. However, the offensive south of Marinka via the village of Pobeda ended in a failure and heavy losses in equipment. Russian troops entered Pobeda were surrounded, but eventually managed to force their way back. In Marinka itself, the Russian military had reached the central Druzhba Avenue throughout its entire length. They are also trying to bypass the town from the north. It is not yet clear whether this will fundamentally change the situation in the battle, which has been going on for a year now. Vuhledar. The Russian Pacific Fleet Marines have reappeared in the cottage village southeast of Vuhledar. It was previously reported that Marines had entered the settlement in late January, but were driven out of there in February. Now videos of small arms battles are again coming in from the ruins of the settlement. Ukraine's defense tactics in the area are based on preventing reinforcements from reaching the Russian outposts. Convoys of Russian equipment attempting to deliver supplies to Vuhledar again hit minefields, which the Ukrainian armed forces set up remotely with artillery. In addition, the Russian army here is under constant artillery fire and anti-tank guided missiles launched by the Ukrainian military from the high-rise building of Vuhledar. Under such conditions, a turn in favor of Russian armed forces is hardly possible in this part of the front line. As we can see, the most difficult area for Ukraine is Bakhmut. Although the city played a major role in containing the Russian winter counterattack, all indications are that in the coming days the defenders will be forced to leave the city entirely and switch to defense at other sites, where the situation for Ukraine so far is more successful. Every week on my channel I give away collectible coins from the National Bank of Ukraine. This collection is called Hero Cities and includes the cities that suffered the most from the Russian invasion. These are Kharkiv, Kherson, Mariupol and Bucha. And if you want to get one of these coins, you just need to support this channel through Patreon, the link is in the description below this video, or right here on YouTube by clicking on the join button. Thank you for your support, subscribe to the channel and live in peace.